Whenever you're ready.
Hello, hello. Welcome to our second episode of Soxy Chicks. I am
Exciting.
Crystal O'Keefe, and I am joined by the very lovely Bailey.
Hello. I'm excited to be back for episode 2.
Yes, we had a lot that happened this
We
week
had
in baseball, it
baseball. We
seems.
had we had baseball. So there was that. Like finally we had baseball, which I'm very excited about.
We've only
And I
waited forever for it.
yes, oh my god, finally. But Crystal definitely watched more for, assignments for her other jobs and such. So she was a little more knowing what was going on this week. I finished my last week of training at my work and it's been a grind. So you're definitely more into what was going on. So what would you say was some interesting things that you thought went on this week with baseball?
Well, obviously, we had our opening day weekend, whatever we want to describe that as, and a lot of those games are really wild. We had a lot of weird observations, some new rules that happened. There were some pretty wild ones about, going into second and sliding in a little too fast, and it resulted in an out. In one of the games I watched, pretty sure it was actually a White Sox game. So we were kind of just getting a feel for different things that are happening and watching a lot of players struggle because they had such a shortened spring training.
Yes.
So there were plenty of injuries that were happening, which really sucks. Like, it's for the White Sox. We lost a bunch of players already. Lucas Giolito went out for some abdominal strains. We already lost AJ Pollock. And
But you won 10-1 today, though.
Yeah, I feel like we just have been losing everyone. So it's interesting to see what happened with that shortened spring training and how brutal it is on some of these guys that are playing.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's weirdly like with the Red Sox, like you just get some of the team like believing that this has been bullpen problem, especially with the game one problem. I don't know how you feel about this, but I hate the ghost runner in extras. Like I despise it. The Red Sox literally lost. I mean, they lost the game because they couldn't hold leads at certain times, but like they still like lost the game based on this ghost runner. So I hate it, but I even hate it like when I just hate it in general. Like I want it gone. I don't even care if like the Red Sox win because of it. Like I'm not a fan of it. So are you on the same wavelength with that or?
Yeah, I hate it. I hated it last season so much. Yeah. And I feel like Tony La Russa found ways to botch that. He didn't know the rules behind it and put Liam Hendricks on second. And it was like, Liam is not known for his base running. Why did we do this? So yeah, it's and a lot of these rules, it's going to take a lot of getting used to, but I think that one was just stupid. And I'm more upset that they got rid of the 7-inning doubleheaders.
I was more okay with that than these ghost runners.
I actually kind of liked that, and it made my days a lot easier when I'm doing stat coverage for a doubleheader.
Oh, of course, yeah. It's making life a little easier, and I'm sure the players low-key loved it too because 14 innings and then you're done, and it's probably a lot easier. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's some people that are like, oh, we like the strategy behind the ghost runner, but I'm like, I don't care. I just don't like it. So the Red Sox lost their first game on that. But then, of course, the big problem was they were 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position in that first game. So that to me is a bigger issue, whether or not you bring out Cutter Crawford in the second time that he's ever stood on a major league mound and he gives up a weak single to I believe it was Donaldson, and then the Yankees win because of that. It's no, those aren't bullpen issues to me. Look back at runners in scoring position. That was your issue, and I believe that's been the issue for these two games, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's been an issue all around. I know the White Sox really struggle with that, and I got that mansplained to me on Twitter the other day.
Did you? Oh, what a day.
I was live tweeting, as I do per most of these Sox games. And, there was no outs. Josh Harrison was on base, and then they left him stranded. And so I jokingly was like, what is RISP anyway? And some guy was like, it's runners in scoring position. And I was like, bro, I know that.
Yeah, I was making a joke. Imagine if you didn't know that. I would be like, It's like, does he follow you? Does he not understand your
Yes, he
content?
follows me.
That's absolutely wild. It's like, do you not know this is a joke?
I have to know that for I get paid to write about this sport. If I
Yeah.
don't at least know what that stands for, then I have no business, in the job I do. But yeah,
But you do know, so you're very overqualified.
thank you so much,
Yeah.
random man in my replies.
Yeah, that's what's funny is when they like I'll get at him on the dating apps. Like one of the last messages I got, he was like, I think his first message to me was, "You don't know ball." I said, "Well, one, I definitely do know ball, and two, do you think this is how I'm gonna be like, oh, he's so cute, he's like, and what is it, negging me?" I'm like, I'm not into that negging stuff. I want the
No.
guy that's like will be like, "Oh, damn, you really do know ball. That's so cool. Thank you." Not like the first message is like, "Oh, you don't know ball." I was like, I'm pretty sure I know ball, but that's fine, you know?
Last year, I don't think my husband would have known what was going on in Major League Baseball if it was not for my articles.
There you
Because
go.
he's a Sox Mets person, and I mostly cover, White Sox. So he was like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't know what was happening at all this season if I didn't read your articles because you send them to me immediately.
Aw, that's so cute.
Thank you. I appreciate
Uh,
that. Yeah.
but that's great that like you have somebody that supports your love for this sport. That is that I mean we understand that it's a male dominated sport in an entirety, but like speaking on that, one of in your show notes as you talked about Rachel is it Balkovic? Is that
I
how she
think so. Yeah.
pronounces it? Yeah,
Yeah.
becoming the first woman to manage a minor league team on like a full-time basis. Like that's
Go
incredible.
girl.
Like we were lucky enough on Pesky Report that we had Bianca Smith, who is a coach in the Red Sox, actually come
Yeah.
on and talk to us, and that was just so cool. And she loved that we were asking her questions that weren't all about what it's like to be the first, like a female in this sport. It was more like because I was like, oh, what is your, what do you do when you're instructing these guys? Like, tell us like what you do. And she's like, oh, great, like this is how I start my day and things like that. So while it is great that we're having these women in here, it's like they're here to be the stepping stones for more women, but they're also
Mhm.
here to do a job in a sport that they love. And they don't need to always be, oh, you were the first woman, you were the first this. So it's great that they can just exist in this sport now
Did
or beginning
you
to.
did you see her comments when they were interviewing her? Earmuffs if you don't want to hear a bad word,
Oh,
people,
no.
viewers. But they were talking to her, and someone said, "Are you just trying to overdo it because you're a woman?" And she said, "No, motherfucker, this is how I am."
Oh, I love
And I was
it.
like, "Yes, you are now the
Overdo
queen."
it because you're a woman. Mm-mm,
Yes, I would
mm-mm.
like to subscribe to whatever religion or cult or whatever you are putting out there. Bravo. You are my new hero, Rachel. I love you. Even
That's
if
the
it's
perfect answer.
Yeah, even if it's a Yankees single A, still
Oh
love
yeah,
you.
it's fine.
You're my
I'm
new
gonna
hero.
support you, not the Yankee players. No,
No,
I'll support you.
sorry, Yankees viewers.
Yeah, we apologize. We're not big. I mean, it's ingrained in my soul to not like the Yankees. So even though I feel like as I have gotten older, I've cared less and less about like
Yeah.
my distaste for them. Like when I was like a teenager, it was bad. Like I just like
Yeah.
the Red Sox just lost like 2 games, and I'm like, it's the first 2 games. And then I do love I love the reactionary aspect of fans. Red Sox went 0-3 against the Baltimore Orioles to open 2021, and then they went to the ALCS. So to me, like these first series, especially when Crystal made the comment of like the shortened spring training and how it's messing with some of these guys. Like I don't care. I don't really care about the first series. If you go on a trend where you're really starting to like, if you go into Detroit and you start losing against Detroit, like I'm gonna get a little more nervous. But like
Mhm.
if the Red Sox are able to win today and be like 1-2, like I literally don't care, especially when that first game was because of that stupid rule at second. And the fact that it's been really the hitting more than anything. Like, of
Mhm.
course, unfortunately, like we live in a world where our starters do not go deep. Like, literally, Evaldi went like 5 innings, and I'm pretty sure that Pavetta went like 4. And I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it. Like, that's the old man in me that's like, I hate these the way that they're managing the pitching nowadays. Like I do. I really do. I love me a good, at minimum, you're going 7. Like if you go 7 now, it's like, oh my God, he went
It's unheard
7.
of.
Right? And then when they don't let guys finish no hitters because of pitch counts and stuff, I'm like, do you really think that suddenly he pitches like 3 more pitches than he's supposed to, that his arm is just gonna like explode? Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. They pulled Darvish was on no-hitter watch, and they pulled him because of his pitch count. And I was like,
I hate it.
no, that would have been so fun to have a no-hitter on opening day.
I hate it. I would be pissed. I'd be like, no, I'm not coming out of this. Thanks. Go back to the dugout. I do understand that these are investments. They are paid egregiously, like an egregious amount of money. But at the same time, like this is something that's like so cool. Like it's cool for you, Darvish. It's cool for the fans. And I don't know. They just are honestly treating them with kid gloves. And I don't necessarily, I think maybe the treatment with kid gloves is more detrimental to injury than, you know, back in the day when they just like tossed and didn't really deal with these injuries. Like look at how everybody's getting Tommy John nowadays. Everybody. It's just crazy.
Way too common.
Yeah, it's almost like accepted now. Oh yeah, sorry.
Speaking of injuries, I wrote down in there, Brian Hayes was going to sign an extension with the Pirates, $70 million, 8 years, and it was pending physical. And then he left the game in that first inning with a wrist injury.
Oh, so are they?
And I mean, it seems really minor. It seems like he's going to be fine and he can still sign this deal. But like, first inning wrist injury, that blows. And that just shows how they needed either no spring training or longer spring training.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love how somebody's willing to commit 8 years to Pittsburgh, though. I don't know. And 80 million's like in the scheme of things, and for what Brian Hayes has, like talent wise, like it could be like I still can't get over the deal that Ronald Acuna Jr. signed with.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
With the Braves, like, oh my God, like things like that, like such
$70 million too. I think that was like the most in Pirates history because they're not known to
spending money
like that. And you know, he could be comfortable because sorry Pirates, but they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So he kind of got the Chris Bryant treatment where, you know, he can just hang out and do what he wants and he's going to make money and he doesn't have to worry about really overextending himself and running deep into October. So
yeah,
good for him. Get your money, boy.
Absolutely. If they're willing and you're like you said, you're comfortable, do it. Speaking on the opposite of that, how do you feel about Aaron Judge's decision?
Gosh, this is so much drama and I'm really invested in it.
I'm here for it, but I also think knowing how injury prone he is, like I don't ever wish injury on anybody. So I'm not wishing an injury on Aaron Judge, but imagine if he F's himself out of so much money because another injury occurs to him.
How old is he? He's only 29, so he's not that old, but
he's a little bit older though, because I think he like came out on the scene at like 25. So like, because he was never really like a major prospect and just kind of showed up one day and just was like 6'8" and hitting bombs, you know?
He's like that subpar guy that you look for. You're like, do I like him because he's going to be good for me? Or do I like him because he's tall? Like that was kind of their Yankees idea with him, I think. But yeah, I love it. I would be laughing so hard if he does flirt around more with free agency and he is not a Yankee.
It's very possible. I just think that like the interview that he gave about it was strange. It was kind of like, I'm done at the end of the season. Like I want to grow a beard. I felt I want to grow beard energy in that interview. Like I really did. It did. And it'll be hilarious to see if he goes to like watch him be a freaking Dodger because like they'll give everybody money, you know.
He'll be a Dodger.
But it's hilarious.
That deal was insane.
The what was insane?
The offer. That was insane.
I know.
$213.5 million, $30.5 million per year.
Yeah. I was like saying no to that was like when Mookie Betts said no to 10,300 offer from the I mean, he ended up with 12,365, so he got 65 more million. But at the same time, it's like that's still kind of a gamble. If somebody's like, "Here's $300 million," I'm like,
okay,
hey. And it's not even like I hate the Yankees, but this is the Yankees. Like as much as I hate it, the most storied franchise in this sport, probably in all sports, most
America's
championships, like,
team.
yeah, like it's the truth as much as I hate it. So you're saying him saying no to that is crazy to me. Like, really, like the whole package of it. And he's
Hey,
loved there.
maybe
Oh,
he's just
so
ready to get out.
true. I mean, if like, people were like, oh, the Red Sox didn't sign their superstar homegrown guy. And then I was just like, okay, cool. But like Freddie Freeman meant way more to the Braves than Mookie Betts ever meant to the Red Sox. And Aaron Judge means everything to the Yankees. So if those guys move on, to me, it's more like than Mookie leaving because like I always felt like Mookie had one foot out the door. Like, and
Mhm.
I was fine with it. That's so like a part of me was never really like upset with that trade. I was like, and also Mookie Betts might be the luckiest human being on the planet because he gets drafted in like the 5th round of a team that
Mhm.
is very about winning. So you do win with that team, and then you get traded to the best team in baseball and immediately win a championship there. So like to me, a lot of he is the player that he is, and he's extremely talented, but there's also luck. Like he could have been as talented as he is and was drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, easily.
So there's a lot of luck in someone like that too. Like just there's a lot of luck that the draft, like Aaron Judge was drafted by the Yankees. Like a lot of luck goes into certain things, But saying no to a lot of that money is crazy. I mean, apparently the Red Sox offered more money than Jose Ramirez signed with to Rafael Devers, and he said no. And Xander, in his mind, I love Xander, baby. You are not a $35 million a year player. I think he thinks he
No.
is, and somebody will probably pay it. And if I can't be mad if the Red Sox are like, boy, that defense is not good, and you're really solid. He is a great hitter, but I'm not paying him $35 million a year. If somebody wants to go to Colorado, go hang out with Chris Bryant and get
Exactly.
$35 million a year, because like I'm really not about paying that. But
Speaking of painful signings because teams won't pay, Carlos Rodon
oh yes,
blew it out of the water for his debut in San Francisco. 12 strikeouts in 5 innings. His fastball was up about by 2. Like he was throwing about 97.4, maxed out at 98.9. A few decimals above where he was at with the Sox. And man, that was painful. The entire time I was watching those highlights, and it was like, I miss you. Do you want to come back to Chicago, please? Because we have nothing. Two of our best pitchers are injured right now.
Yeah, at least you're up 2-1. I will say though, the Texas Rangers are really out here proving that having a potent offense means jack shit when you have a zero pitching.
Yes.
So I am so glad that it's working out the way we all knew it would work out.
Because I laughed so hard when and I shouldn't. I'm so mean for saying that. I laughed so hard when they put out that tweet like, this is how you open a season. And then boom.
I mean, Toronto is terrifying. So that's fun. That's fun for me, especially. I mean, I said Toronto was winning the division anyways. I said if the Red Sox get in the playoffs, I said they could be the first wild card. I was like, they're not winning the division. The Rays really have never even scared me, even coming off a 100-win season. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe it's because like we steamrolled them in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Like they don't scare me.
They also lost a bunch of talent this year. I mean, Austin Meadows is now on the Tigers, and he was
crazy,
easily one of their best at bats. So yeah, they're not here anymore. Blue Jays are going to be. I am actually going to see them play against the White Sox the day after my birthday.
Oh well, good luck. Good luck to your team on that day.
That's gonna be a tough loss that day.
It's just crazy how, and a lot of that talent is homegrown too. Like they have a lot of really good homegrown talent in Toronto. So it proves that when you do build your farm system, you can be very, I mean, the Red Sox in 2018, most of that team was actually, the entire outfield was from the farm system. Vasquez, catcher, farm system. Bogey and Devers, farm system. Like, I'm pretty sure the second base and first base were the only two positions that, Mitch Moreland and Steve Pearce, obviously not homegrown. And then it came down to Ian Kinsler, in the World Series playing second base. So like most of that 2018 team was built on the farm system. At least the Red Sox have always been good with position players in the farm system. They've been terrible with pitching, especially starting pitching. So we've got Tanner Houck going today, and he will not face the third time through the order because he does not have a third pitch. But then again, nobody's really facing third time through the order anymore. So welcome to starting in 2022, Tanner Houck.
Yeah, we started Michael Kopech today, and he was okay, but he only has 2 pitches, and he really needs to change it up. Like, he needs a change up.
Hey!
He was just, and he did okay. You could tell he was a little stressed out there, but he pulled through. He had some good innings. He made it through 4, which was impressive. He ended with 69 pitches, so nice. But it's stressful watching that happen in front of your eyes because you don't have much to back it up with.
Yeah, and I feel like Tanner Houck is sort of in a Michael Kopech like level. I think that's why, when the Red Sox were able to make that trade to get Chris Sale, I mean, signing him to that extension's looking really good now, but time will tell. But at the time the trade, it was a great trade, and the Red Sox were able to give like Kopech and Moncada up because they had Devers and they had like a Tanner Houck. So you have people that are similar skill set, potentially better skill set, that you can give away these things to get what you want. That's what the Dodgers do. That's what the Padres do. The Padres still haven't given up their top 4, and they've made impressive trades. That's how deep that system was. And like, that's how deep like Chaim Bloom is trying to make like the Red Sox farm system. So farm systems are just very important to this game, and I'm a fan of them. Some people are like, just give out the whole farm. I was like, you only get, like, when you give out the whole farm, you see what Dave Dombrowski did because, But anyway.
White Sox don't really have a whole lot to offer in their farm system. We've got Jake Berger and Gavin Sheets, and I even am kind of iffy about trading them. And then I read that A's want on Andrew Vaughn, and I was like, sweetie, you can't afford him, especially after his 3-run homer today. You can't afford Andrew Vaughn, and we will never give up Andrew Vaughn.
For what, like for Frankie Montas?
Way too talented. We need him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. And that's like the Red Sox are, and like the Red Sox fans were like, well, what will it take to get Frankie Montas? And I was like, as long as you don't, to me, if you don't touch Meyer, Casas, or York, I'm fine with giving whoever. Like, you can have the rest of them. And some people will be like, what about Blaze Jordan? I'm like, Blaze Jordan's a third baseman. Like, especially if we could just go out and sign Rafael Devers, hopefully to like an extension one day, which better happen. Like, what the hell you can do with Blaze Jordan? You can use that to get a piece that's actually going to help you in the now and in the future. So, yes, that's how I feel about that. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Yeah. I like this one. Seth Beer. Oh, yeah. What happened?
Oh, yes. I was just going to say another extension news. The Mariners extended J.P. Crawford 5 years, $51 million. But yes, please talk about Seth Beer because that was so much fun.
I love that. That's such a great note. I didn't even know it was National Beer Day. Oh,
yeah, it was National Beer Day on April 8th, and
what a letdown.
Yeah, he walked it off, and he's just a rookie. He's just a baby. So that was just, those are those things where like you get so excited for when they're like your first. Yesterday the White Sox had oh gosh, why did I just forget his name? Bennett Sousa had his very first strikeout, and then again today Tanner Banks had his very first MLB strikeout. So it's so fun to watch these things happen for these rookies. Like I become too invested in all rookies as is. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm just like their mother.
Yeah, right?
Oh my gosh. Like, you can't help to be excited for that kind of moment.
Oh yeah. I saw the first hit for Witt Jr. was like an RBI double. And he like smoked it to left. I was like, oh. I mean, that's great to like see that, and especially when they're so highly touted, then to being able to back it up, like you feel good for them, because like when they struggle, like the perfect example was the Mariners. What was it? Kelenic has struggled. So and everybody's like, oh, he's gonna be so good, this, that, or the other thing, and then when you see them struggle, it's like, oh, like I want you to be as good as people believe you, because like that has to be so detrimental to your mental health. being like, I know I'm better than this. And like, so I mean, you know, we just think of like, I feel like as fans, sometimes we think of these people as superhuman when they are just actually human and they have feelings, and it's all like, oh, suck it up or this. It's like, well, would you like it if somebody told you to suck it up? It's like, okay, just because, and of course it comes with the idea of like, well, men and feelings. I'm like, men are allowed to have feelings. Like,
mental health affects everyone, not just women.
Absolutely. And it's just these people that think that it's like, oh, this big burly man. You know, I mean, I think that what is it? Zach Greinke. Like, I mean, he didn't pitch for a while because of him dealing with his mental health. And it's important to take care of your mental health. That's why like him going back to Kansas City is like a chef's kiss, because I feel like that's the perfect place for him to like end his career, because there's going to really be no pressure for him there. Like, it was wild when he went to the Dodgers. Like, I get like there's sort of like, as big market as it is, it's not like it really has an oppressive fan base as some other cities do. And it is funny to me that I don't necessarily find that it is the fans, but it is the media, especially in Boston. It's Boston media. It's not Boston fans.
Yeah, the media can be tough, but I also find, and I hate calling this out, but like the fantasy baseball people can be so toxic. Because, you know, I try not to say mean things about players, at least not on the internet, maybe in a group chat, maybe out loud.
Yeah.
When I'm mad, you know, but I'm not going to go on Twitter and say, oh my God, you suck because you lost me this and this in fantasy. Like, I have to wonder how players feel when they see that. Or, you know, people are going after their family. I see so many people like tweet at these wives or in the DMs of wives, and they're like, oh my God, why did your husband do that? You guys suck. Like, I hate you all. And I'm like, they're human getting paid to play professionally, but just because of that doesn't mean they're perfect. You're allowed to have a bad day.
Absolutely.
Do you want your boss to come out at your wife and say, oh my gosh, your husband had such a terrible performance review? Like, fix that.
It's ridiculous to me. And especially when like they threaten like wives and children at times too. I'm like, oh, what makes you think that any of this is okay? There's just, you know, it's interesting because the idea of fandom and toxicity, that was pretty much the theme of like the new Scream movie. And it's like, there's one line in it where it was like, how can it be toxic if you love it? And I was like, oh, but it can be. It can be. Like, we love certain things, whether it be sports, movies, whatever, franchises, but there's so many people that are toxic within these fandoms. And yeah, you love it. It doesn't mean that you're not toxic though. And
we just watched the new Scream movie again. I made my husband watch it. He wasn't impressed, but
what was your
feeling? He doesn't like them.
Were you like,
oh, I loved it. I thought it was perfection.
Oh, I did not like the new one.
He hates all of the movies I like, let's be honest. We have very differing tastes, but yeah.
The only problem that I really had with the new Scream overall was character development, especially when you have how well the characters are developed in like the original Scream and everything that Kevin Williamson's given you. And these characters just felt like shells of themselves. On a level of just being a slasher, it slaps. I loved it as just a slasher. But when you're trying to bring in like new characters, and I felt like they're not as developed as like what I'm used to in the Scream franchise, that brought me like a little down. But I had fun with it at least. I bought it on.
She got under his skin.
Yeah, no, I wasn't a big fan of the new Final Girl. Like, if we swapped the sisters, and what like one was the, you know, that's mainly it. But anyways, this is not a Scream podcast. No.
Though I did just notice my husband is apparently watching and said, I thought Scream was a very good comedy.
Well, thank you. I agree. No, I kind of agree with him on that a bit. I do. But it is still my favorite, like, overall, like, horror movie franchise. Like, I love the franchise. I even bought the new one on Blu-ray. Like, I have to complete my collection. Like, I work at Paramount. Part of my tour, I talk about, like, on the tour, we passed the Foley stage, and what the Foley stage is how they can help recreate the sound. And
Mhm.
it's interesting to learn that like for broken bones, you use pretty much like celery. Like so snapping of a celery stalk can be used as like a broken bone. So I'll like drive by the Foley station. I'll be like, this is Foley. I was like, now Paramount's first hit of the 2020 year was Scream. And in the opening scene, somebody breaks their leg. And we're not about breaking actors' legs, so we use celery. Like, I was like, I'll bring it into my tours.
I'll never unhear that now. Next time I'm working with celery.
Yeah, it was broken bones. Yeah. It's wild the things that they use to recreate sound. You're just like, whoa. But yeah, they use celery for broken bones. So sorry to scare you next time you're making celery.
Yes. All right, back to baseball because I could
Yes,
go on
yes.
for a million years about Scream.
Oh, I could too.
We won't do that. We're gonna lose followers.
Yeah, they're gonna be like,
so the Nationals are constantly hitting the Mets.
oh, are
5
they?
hit by pitches in 20 innings. 5. And one,
What?
Francisco Lindor like took one almost to the mouth. I'm surprised he
Oh,
didn't have teeth.
does he wear the flap?
Yeah,
All
he
right,
does.
that's good. I know a lot of them have, doing that. Even if they haven't been hit, it's still a nice extra.
Yeah, another one almost right off the head, tore the helmet right off.
What did they? Oh, talk about going to the poops after winning a championship. Like the Washington Nationals. Like I can't. I'd be so mad if I was like an actual fan of theirs. Like
Yeah,
I mean the Red Sox ebb and flow, but oof.
Yeah, it's been rough. And maybe they're just trying to get used to these new balls. Maybe these pitchers are just young and inexperienced, but 5 in 20 innings seems excessive.
I mean,
And
just like we hate all the Mets. Let's just
I was watching last night after the 5th hit by pitch, and I was just like, Buck is going to lose his mind. They panned right into his face, and I was like, I am saving this image to my camera roll because it just looked like if looks could kill, all of those Nationals would be dead on the field. He was pissed.
Oh
and I don't blame him, but they didn't retaliate, which I was happy about because I hate retaliating. So instead, Pete Alonso had his first career grand slam to retaliate on the Nationals.
That's good. That's the kind of retaliation I'm about. I'm about that retaliation when it's like a grand slam, That's the kind you want because it's like, oh, you're going to hit us? We're just going to hit grand slams.
Yeah, the Cubs are doing it too. The Cubs hit the Brewers a lot in their first
Cubs have been
series.
hitting. Like the Brewers are 0-2 and people had the Brewers just, so this is when teams start out a little slowly. Like in the end of the day, I'm not saying I assure you, but pretty dang sure that that the Cubs are not going to be in the hunt, so
yeah.
Things happen and things, it's 162 games. So the fact that people are freaking out over 2, I find it delightful. Like I feel like I'm a sadist. I'm like on there, like I love reading like the negativity at times. I'm like, oh yeah, give it to me. Cause I'm like, how are you, I don't know, this upset this early? If we're like dog shit for like 2 months, yeah, you could kind of be like, yeah, this isn't trending properly,
Right.
But can we talk about the hissy fits that is just the being that is Garrett Cole? And did you hear about the 4 minutes and him being like, and coming out of the dugout and pretty much kind of like yelling at Billy Crystal to like speed it up? Because those 4 minutes, were just, why does he speak?
Buddy, you're a diva. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I caught a little bit of that and I just laughed. Come on, this is ridiculous.
Like, why are you? You're constantly making excuses. Like, you'll make excuses for why you're bad. Max Scherzer will be like, yeah, I sucked. Mm-hmm. And like, that's the difference in like the type of the mentality of pitching. And I think like being like, making all of these excuses then make you not perform at as high of a level. Like he wasn't good at all in the wild card game. And you can make all your excuses, but like you lost no matter how many excuses that you want. Yeah. And like $36 million. It's, I don't know. I don't think Garrett seems like the kind of mentality for New York, yet he's there and he's going to be there for a while.
I don't know, or maybe he's perfect because he's just cocky and annoying.
That could be true too. It could be true, but I feel like he's gotta. Even though overall, like he did perform really well last year. Like overall, he did. Spider Tack played an issue, of course it did, and he did taper off a little bit towards the end of the season. But like
Mhm.
overall, some of his overall numbers were better than Robbie Ray's overall
Yeah,
numbers.
they were,
Like,
which is
and
funny.
yeah, and like that's the thing when it comes to these votings for Cy Youngs and such like that. When you look and people were looking at like what Ray was doing towards the end of the season, and so I think a lot there's like it's like a relevancy thing. Like, what have you done for me lately? Rather than like maybe looking at the overall picture of things, because like I hate the Yankees, I don't like Garrett Cole, but there's a part of me that was like, overall, over a 162 game season, I think he maybe actually was better than Robbie Ray. But
Yeah.
and that's coming from a diehard Red Sox fan. But that it really is. There is a lot of the what have you done for me lately, I feel like, in this sport.
Yeah, I do agree. I think he probably should have won that over Robbie Ray, and that's coming from a Robbie Ray stan. Like I enjoy watching him play. So, but yeah, his numbers actually weren't bad, but I do think his attitude is just so bad
Yeah.
that it just makes you not like him and makes you not want him to win anything anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Like when the last day he was a Houston Astro and they like asked him a question and he's like, "Oh yeah, this isn't like my team anymore." Like he made a weird comment like that. That's completely out of context. I'm not exactly sure what the comment was, but it was sort of something along those lines. And I was like, "Bro, what are we doing?" I mean, I get it. Like you're technically a free agent, but like you still have like your Houston stuff on. You're being interviewed by like Houston Astros like reporters, and you're just saying like, "Oh, like this isn't like my team anymore." Also, it was really interesting. Speaking of teams and teammates, it was really interesting to find out. Jared Carabas has a whole new bunches of podcasts with DraftKings, and I'm so excited for him because the only thing I ever watched Barstool related was him, and I'm so glad that I can separate myself entirely from Barstool Sports and just go to DraftKings now. Weird, but I'm glad
Yeah.
he probably got a really good bag. He seems to have a lot more freedom. He seems to be freer, but he has Pat Light with him on his Red Sox podcast. Like he did. Pat Light came into the end of section 10 a bit. And Pat Light was talking about how Eduardo Rodriguez was not liked in the clubhouse and was a very me person. And I was like,
So
ooh.
another thing, did you see the Freddie Freeman discourse
Yes,
on?
but it was weird because I was hearing like, and then didn't Acuna Jr. come out and say he didn't say any of these
Yeah, he was
things?
like, "I didn't say that," but then a bunch of reporters and, like, outlets and stuff confirmed
Oh,
that that's
did
what he
they?
said. Yeah, they did. Like, there were about 4 or 5, like, Hispanic journalists that came out and they're like, "Nope, that's exactly what he said on live," because he was constantly like, "I won't miss him. We didn't see eye to eye," and then he comes in and he was like, "No, I didn't say that." And then meanwhile, more
Mm,
and more places are like, "Nope, he does
that's
not
what you
like
said.
Freddie Freeman." And I was like, "That's cool," because he kinda gives me some sketch vibes anyway, but we won't go into
Oh,
political discourse there.
Freeman. You're not a big
Yeah,
Freeman.
no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. That's interesting though, because then I heard other things that like, the people that are Freddie Freeman stands were like, oh, it was Freddie wanted to spend time with his like wife and daughter, not daughter, Jesus, son, Charlie. I love Charlie. He has 3 sons now, but at the time it was like just his wife and Charlie, and wanted to spend time with them and not go off golfing with like his buddies. And I didn't hear any of that, whether or not it was like, oh, Freddie Freeman won't come out golfing with us because he just wants to go home to his wife and kid. I mean, again, if that's like actually the reason why, can you fault him for wanting to spend time
Yeah.
with, especially when you're so far away from them? Of course, he wants to spend time with his family, but if there's more to it, that's like insane. Like just to hear these things of thinking certain things. So a part of me is like, if Eduardo Rodriguez, and he also shaded Xander Bogaerts too in his like
Mhm.
introductory press conference with the saying like, I want you to get me like also, who are you? You're a 3, buddy. I know you think you're a 1, you got the opening day start, but like you come in and say, I want you to get me like an all-star shortstop. I'd be like, you're a 3. But they went out and they got him El Magro, like, you know, one of the best at that position defensively. So they did it. But like, baby, why are we shading Zan? Zan is like the epitome of like a team player. And but then
Yeah.
it was hearing like, and Pat Like was saying, you know, I played with these guys. Like I can tell you that Xander is 100% all about the team. And then just coming, I love that he just came out and said, yeah, no, Eddie's like a me man. And like at one point, Jared was like, oh, like kind of surprised that Pat was like coming out and just saying it. And I was like, hey, do it, air it. And just being like, yeah, no, him leaving like made a lot of sense, you know? And I was like, ooh. So just hearing these things. But yeah, the whole Freddie Freeman and Ronald Acuna Jr. thing was like,
It's bizarre.
that is very bizarre. It's kind of interesting because it's like, do things get lost in translation sometimes? Because I know that there was Rafael Devers uses a translator. His English has come a long way, and I commend him on doing everything. But he still uses it, and he will go on like Instagram lives. And at one time, like one of the Instagram lives asking like, "Oh, do you miss Mookie Betts?" And he came out and said, "I wasn't really friends with him." And like, but some Red Sox fans took that as Rafael Devers hates Mookie Betts, and it was like, no, you can understand, especially when it comes. Yeah, and when it comes down to a language barrier too, he like JD Martinez speaks both English and Spanish. He will tell you his Spanish isn't the best, but he can at least converse. So it allows him to converse with these Latin America players. Xander Bogart speaks like 80 languages, like pretty much. So it allows these people to have more of a rapport with each other, whereas Mookie Betts doesn't. So there will probably be that, but it doesn't mean that they're not excited for each other. They're not good teammates. Like Mookie Betts is a great teammate. I've never heard a single bad thing about Mookie Betts not being a fantastic teammate, you know, but it's funny when people will like run with something and be like, oh, it's because they hate each other.
Just to add a little spice.
It's just, yeah, exactly. But yeah, so there's weirdly been like some drama going on in this weekend baseball for sure. Just like outside drama.
I forgot to add this to the notes, but there were wholesome things like Albert Pujols going back to the Cardinals, got a standing ovation when they introduced him. And as much as I can't stand him when he's up against any team I'm rooting for, you have to respect him. I mean, he's been in this forever, and he's great. That's why you hate him so much sometimes. But it was really nice to see him get that respect when he's back in St. Louis and
back home.
Just wholesome to see that happen because you know his time is up. So it was precious.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And him ending it where it began is great. And they're gonna be a team that's gonna really try and contend too. And he can help contribute on any level, whether it be with his bat or with his mentorship for these young guys. But it's not like, he's just going back to a team that's like not going to compete. Like, no, he's going to a team that's going to really try and compete to win that Central. So that's even great too. Like he knows that he can really help contribute. And he was really good when he got traded to the Dodgers, especially when they put him against lefties. Like he could still mash lefties. So it's great to know that he could probably, also their manager is only like 35 years old. He is young.
Yes.
The Cardinals manager. I was like, what? I was like, damn. Yeah. I'm like, all right. I'm like, go St. Louis, giving this boy a chance at such a young age. But I saw an interview with him and he was talking about having Albert back and having the DH and how the DH is just going to help everybody because he's like, we can DH, Albert, but then on a day where we still want to have like Goldschmidt's bat in the lineup, we can DH Goldschmidt and Albert can go over to first. So it's like he's like this DH is just going to allow more versatility to the game and being able to help with the rest of players.
Yeah, that's good. He's a good piece to have. So I'm really happy that he can finish his career and still have his at-bats and still compete towards something that I think will make his last year extremely special if it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I want to say another Red Sox thing that came in. And I would like to thank Brian Cashman for giving up on Garrett Whitlock and for Chaim Bloom snatching that boy up and a 4-year extension with also 2 years of options that could bring him to 32 years old with a guaranteed $19 million. Holy steal, especially if there's a potential of next year him going into the rotation. So if you
Mhm.
have someone with his talk about, we talk about like Hauk and Kopech only having 2 pitches. Like Whitlock's got all the pitches. Nobody, I'm pretty sure the person with the most pitches in the entire planet is Nathan Eovaldi. I think he might have like a pitch mix of 6. It's
Yeah,
wild to me how
he's
many
got
pitches how he has. But Garrett, that's why to me Garrett Whitlock makes more sense in a rotation than Tanner Houck does. Like in all honesty, especially when it comes to pitch mix and just stuff wise. So it's like who knows, they could flip flop next year, but that could potentially be. It's already a steal, like a Rule 5 guy that's already done as well as he has, and never pitched above Double-A either, and came off Tommy John. Has just been as good as he has. It's absolutely wild. So thanks, Yankees. Y'all's are great. I don't know why you did not protect Garrett Whitlock like at all.
I don't either.
But thank you. And thank you. Really, thank you for the 2020 Red Sox season. Because if you didn't suck as much as you did, we wouldn't have had a high pick in the Rule 5 draft and probably wouldn't have gotten him. And we wouldn't have had the overall 4th pick. And Marcelo Meyer's been raking down in the minors. So thank you, 2020 Red Sox season.
Yes. Sometimes you just have to find the good in the pain.
Yeah,
Find
and
the
it was
silver
only
lining.
60 games. Exactly, only 60 games. Like really, the 2020 season just was not as big of a deal for me. If it was a whole 162 and they had to be that bad, it probably would have hurt more. But 60 games and we still got everything that you got from like a 162, when it came to like draft wise. Thank you, and good night. So I'm happy that Garrett Whitlock's going to be on the Red Sox for a while. Now, the real extension that they have to really worry about is figuring out what is the right number to come to with Rafael Devers, because I just feel like that's somebody that you can't let go, really.
Yeah. The White Sox are sitting there with Lucas Giolito.
Oh, good.
I need them to extend, but they just worked out the whole arbitration thing. He's still making less than he wanted, but I'm thankful that they at least worked that out. Now they need to push to extend him.
Yeah.
Because it would be nice to have multiple aces, because I really think Dylan Cease is up there now. I mean, he pitched like an ace yesterday. Well. Oh, yeah. He was phenomenal yesterday. Like, I've seen him, and he's great against the Tigers anyway, but he was just pitching out of his mind. I was so impressed with his outing yesterday. So it's
he's
nice.
So handsome. He's handsome too.
I love his mustache. We had some weird people in those replies yesterday. Someone was like, "Do you have daddy issues?" And I was like, "Because I like a mustache on someone."
I would be like, well, even if I did, how is my daddy issues any of your opinion?
Right. Well, I came back and I was like, well, my dad's not alive. And I don't have any clue as to how we're on the same level of this conversation.
Yeah. Or I do like that some people will get upset with you because they'll be like, oh, you'll comment on how like this guy's handsome, and you'll get the, oh, do you only like the baseball for the men? I was like, it's a nice perk, but no, it's the sport that I really do love. Or you'll get the some of the men that'll be like, well, now if I called some woman sexy, you'd be all over me. And I'm like,
I got a comment like that. They're like, well, we can't comment on women's hair, but it's okay for you to comment on the men's facial hair. And I was like, buddy, that you think you're making a point, you're not.
You're not. You're making a terrible point.
Yeah.
So was there any, I'm just trying to think, was there anything else that really happened this week? I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I think we did. I just also want to thank Javier Baez for just not being as good as he thinks he is, because it really saved the White Sox today and yesterday. So thank you, Javi.
Oh my God, what did he do?
Just typical terrible fielding. He also okay, Tigers had 0 outs. Bases, I'm pretty sure were loaded. There were at least 2 on, but I think they were loaded. And he ran to try to steal home, and he got tagged out because it was an idiotic thing to do. And I was like, thank you. We needed that out. So I appreciate you just being a total idiot at all times.
Yeah, no, there's definitely players that play with a swag that can't back up said swag, and he definitely gives me that type of a vibe for sure. But then there are players that like are learning. Like I'm believing that Alex Verdugo is going to have a really, really big season for the Red Sox, and it has shown a little more discipline. He hit a monster home run yesterday, so there's power in that bat. but he would be overly aggressive and he would be out by like a mile on what he thought he could be as a double instead of just taking the single. So he literally did what looked like it was going to potentially be that type of a moment and backed off and took the single. And we were like, oh, you're really learning. Like this is good to actually see the growth in the game, because these things are going to help him. He's the kind of person that can hit 20 home runs and maybe hit 40 doubles like he has. And to me, if he has something like that, you can only like I don't know how you could say the Mookie Betts trade was bad for anybody, especially if you can have a really great season from Alex Verdugo. Like truthfully, I think the Red Sox got everything that they could possibly want, and the Dodgers have Mookie Betts, so, and everybody else. So enjoy your embarrassment of riches, Los Angeles. But yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, that's this week. Soxy Chicks. We will be back next Sunday. Probably a little later. I just, of course, like these past 2 Sundays, people were like, "Do you want to do things?" And I was like, okay. I'm like, let's record a little bit earlier. But thank you for being so adaptable, Crystal. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I don't have a life outside of baseball, so we're all good.
You're like, right? I mean, normally, like, I don't, but like now with this job, I do. And I'm like, this is weird. I can't. And like tonight, I'm going to show up to the Yard House before everybody else is going to get there. I'm going to go in and I'm going to be like, can you please put this TV on so I can actually like while pretend I'm socializing while watching my boys this evening. So that's going to be happening for sure. But yeah, so thank you for everybody that tuned in and hanging out with us on the Pesky Report channel. We're having a lot of fun with this and we're going to keep getting better and better. So please join in with us.
Yes. Thank you. Follow us.
Yes. Follow us. We've got our right there. Like right there, like they can see it. Like I'm pointing as if they can like see it on the screen.
I put my Twitter handle in this time. Okay.
Yes, good. So we have our Twitter handles. Follow us. You can also follow the Pesky Report. You know, I'll be on there from time to time as well. But every Sunday you can catch myself and Crystal right here. So bye.
Bye.